In 1975, Jaws hit theaters and redefined cinema. But the real drama happened off-screen, with technical disasters, bold choices, and wild surprises shaping the film into a legend. Here are 10 weird but true facts about how Jaws became so iconic. Before CGI, movie monsters had to be built, and in Jaws, that meant a massive mechanical shark that was as temperamental as it was terrifying. But behind the scenes, this metal menace had a surprisingly goofy name: Bruce. Spielberg nicknamed it after his lawyer, Bruce Raymer. Why? Maybe it was a stress thing, maybe it was irony, or maybe Spielberg just liked the idea of giving this fake man-eating machine a name that sounded like your dad's golf buddy. The name Bruce stuck. The crew used it constantly, especially when the shark broke down, which happened a lot. Funny enough, the name became so iconic that Pixar later paid homage to the friendly but scary shark in Finding Nemo, also named Bruce. Behind the name Bruce was a mechanical nightmare that nearly sank the entire production. Turns out the saltwater wreaked havoc on its machinery, causing constant breakdowns. Sometimes it sank, sometimes it wouldn't move, other times it just sat there, refusing to open its terrifying metal mouth like a stubborn toddler. The delays were so bad that Spielberg had to completely rethink how to shoot the movie. But here's where genius kicked in. Instead of showing the shark, Spielberg used floating barrels to hint at its presence. You'd see them bobbing on the water, speeding toward a boat, and your imagination did the rest. It turns out the fewer shark appearances made Jaws even scarier. Thank you, Broken Robot. When Bruce kept breaking down, Spielberg's instinct took over. He even added a last-minute scare that wasn't in the script and paid for it himself. You remember that scene that made popcorn fly out of everybody's hands? It wasn't even in the original script. Spielberg felt the movie needed one more solid scare, so he came up with the idea after filming it already wrapped. Now here's the really wild part. He believed in it so much that he paid for it himself. That's right, the most famous jump scare in the entire film came out of Spielberg's personal pocket. He shot the extra scene in a swimming pool, added murky water, and boom! Instant movie history. It's a perfect example of Spielberg's instinct for suspense, not just scaring people, but knowing how and when to scare them. That last-minute scare showed Spielberg's instinct, and with the shark barely working, he pushed that instinct even further by being creative. The result? One of the greatest accidental masterstrokes in film history: you barely see the shark. The full reveal doesn't even happen until 1 hour and 21 minutes into the movie. That's more than halfway through. But instead of tanking the film, this movie supercharged the suspense. Viewers were forced to feel the shark instead of seeing it. A fin slicing through the water, a dock is getting dragged, those ominous barrels bobbing on the surface. It turned the shark into this invisible, unstoppable force of nature. Your imagination filled in the blanks. And let's be real, nothing is scarier than what your brain cooks up. So yeah, Bruce was a disaster mechanically, but a gift to the horror gods. Just when you think the behind-the-scenes chaos couldn't get crazier, Spielberg threw real great white sharks into the mix. For some underwater shots, he used actual shark footage. The footage is so jaw-droppingly good, pun intended, that Spielberg decided to rewrite the scene. Instead of Hooper dying like in the book, he escapes the cage and survives. Why? Because the real footage was way too good to waste. So yeah, a lucky absence saved a character's life and gave us some of the most intense, authentic shark footage ever put on a screen. By now, we've got malfunctioning sharks, surprise scores, and real great whites on the scene, so it's only fitting that the film's most famous line, totally improvised. That legendary moment when Chief Brody backs into the cabin, sees the monster rise from the water and mutters, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," wasn't in the script. Actor Roy Schneider just said it. Apparently, it was a running joke on set. The crew kept complaining that the production needed a bigger support boat, so Schneider started dropping the line casually during filming. But when he said it right after seeing the shark, it hit perfectly. Spielberg knew that they had lightning in a bottle and kept it in. The delivery, the timing, the panic, it was pure unplanned magic. And just like that, one offhand line became cinematic legend. The impact of Jaws didn't stop at the box office, it bled right into real life. After the movie dropped, people were terrified to go into the ocean. Beaches emptied, tourist towns freaked out. Lifeguards started scanning for fins like they were in a war zone. Shark hysteria was so intense that it led to actual shark hunts and mass killings. Here's the tragic twist. A lot of the sightings were bogus. In one case, panicked swimmers thought they saw a great white, but it was just a pod of dolphins. Yeah, dolphins. Spielberg didn't mean to paint sharks as evil, but the fear was real and it stuck around for decades. Marine biologists still talk about how Jaws single-handedly damaged the reputation of an entire species. Turns out a fake shark made people fear the real ones a little too well. By now, Bruce had a reputation for ruining plans, and here's another example. The death of young Alex Kentner, the kid on the yellow raft, was originally supposed to be a graphic, brutal scene with the shark chomping him in full view. But surprise, surprise, the shark model wasn't cooperating again. So Spielberg scrapped the original idea and made a genius pivot. He shot the scene from the shark's point of view. What you get instead is a horrifying moment of suspense. Thrashing limbs, a geyser of blood, and a mother's scream that still hits like a gut punch. It's terrifying, but also way more effective because your imagination fills in the blanks. Once again, Bruce's malfunctions forced creativity and delivered a scene people still talk about today. After this, Jaws throws you a quiet, emotional gut check. Remember that short scene where Brody sits at the dinner table, worn down and defeated, and his young son starts mimicking his facial expressions? It's this warm, wordless exchange that lasts maybe 30 seconds, but it hits you right in the feels. Well, let me tell you, it wasn't in the script. That moment happened between takes, just a real interaction between Roy Schneider and the child actor Sean Brady. Spielberg saw it happening, kept the camera rolling, and later decided to use it in the film. In a story packed with monsters and mayhem, that little unscripted bit of humanity somehow makes everything feel more real. It's one of the rare quiet beats that reminds you why we care about these characters. When Spielberg signed on for Jaws, he thought he had a tight 65 days of shooting ahead. Instead, the film took a whopping 159 days to complete. That's nearly 3 times longer than planned. Why? Well, we already know Bruce didn't exactly cooperate. Between the shark constantly malfunctioning, the unpredictable weather, and a million other headaches on set, delays piled up faster than the ocean waves. The extended schedule was a nightmare for everybody involved, especially the crew and the cast. But in the end, the extra time gave Spielberg the chance to fine-tune the suspense and pacing, creating one of the most iconic thrillers in film history. It's one of those good things take time situations. Jaws might have been a disaster during production, but it paid off massively when it hit the big screen. Jaws was supposed to be a simple monster movie, but it turned into a chaotic, creative masterpiece that changed cinema forever. From broken sharks to improvised lines, every disaster on set helped shape a film that still grips audiences today. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're gonna need a bigger boat.